Cheeseheads. Get on your feet. It's Curd and Long. Hosted by Sparky, Fifer, and Ryan Horvat.
Welcome in another edition of Curd and Long. Steve Sparky Fifer with you from Wisconsin Sports Daily, weekday afternoons from 2 to 5 p.m. on 1250 a.m. The Fan in beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where the sun is shining bright today. He is Ryan Horvat, co-host of BetMGM Tonight, Nick Cashew, Trista Crick, and himself. Weeknights, while the games are going on, you're checking them out on the BetQL Radio Network or streaming them on your Odyssey app, or you also can, I'm assuming, can watch them on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page as well. Okay, Ryan Horvat, follow him on Twitter at Ryan Horvat. Follow me at Sparky Radio. Let's talk more about the Packers OTAs. When you and I last convened on Tuesday, they were going on, and we were getting bits and pieces of what was going on. After we got done with that podcast later in the afternoon, Jordan Love did talk to the media, and he was asked about, do you plan on playing if you are essentially in the lame duck year of your contract, if they can't get an extension worked out? He said, quote, "I don't really know what's going on, but we'll see. I'm not really going to get into too much contract stuff. We'll see. I don't know yet. We'll see." Jordan Love said. The question, any concern over those comments by Jordan Love being non-committal to possibly holding out of a deal is not done, Ryan Horvat?
No, not really, because he also said, like, I'm going to play football because that's what I do. That's my career. That's my job. Like, that's what I'm here to do. And I don't really have any concerns because I think he's just saying the right stuff, the right things, because he doesn't want to come out. Like, there's no reason for Jordan Love. He's probably, like, let's be honest, he's probably doing whatever management and whatever his agency told him to do. He's not going to come out and be like, yeah, no matter what, I'll be there at camp. You don't want to give, because at the end of the day, it's a business. And we see with Green Bay, we love this team, but when it's time to move on from guys, Goot's cutthroat. He moves on from guys. So I think Jordan Love's playing this the right way. You're not going to come out and be like, no matter what, I'll be there, man, because you're in negotiation or you're about to be in negotiations. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So you kind of want to put some pressure on, kind of like Giannis does every year after the Bucks get eliminated in the playoffs. Hey, I'll stay in Milwaukee if they can continue to build around me, continue to build a championship team. I'm here to win. So Jordan Love's doing pretty much, but in a different way. He's like, hey, right now I'm here, but he wants to get paid. He sat behind Aaron. He waited his turn. Now it's his turn.
He was a good soldier the whole time. He never complained.
He was a good soldier. Game. Yeah. Like, he's got one more playoff win than a lot of these jabronis we talk about that are the next big thing. Like, Jordan Love, and it wasn't just that he won a playoff game. It's not like he won at Lambeau Field against the New York Giants, a 7-win team. He went into Dallas and beat the Cowboys. Nobody did that all season long. He threw over 30 touchdown passes. By the rankings, he was a top 5, top 10 quarterback in the league, and he should only get better now with more experience and a full offseason of being the guy. And he's more familiar with his weapons because last year he also did all this with the youngest wide receiver room in the league. So I think he's playing this the right way. I do think that he continues to show up, and I think they'll get a deal done here eventually.
Okay, so let's talk about it from the perspective of Jordan Love. I agree with you 1,000%. He's doing what his agents told him to do. His agents pretty much, I guarantee you, told him, shut the bleep up. Don't say anything. Like, if they ask you, be like, dude, that's my agent's job. I'm not talking about contracts. That's why I pay him all this money. We're good. Whatever you want to say. But you yourself make no comments about how much money you want. You make no comments about whether or not you're holding out or not holding out. You make no comments about length of the contract. You say nothing. We'll take care of it. And again, from my perspective, he's got one of the best agents in football, David Melgata. So that it's going to be fine. They're going to take care of it for him. This is where I'm concerned. I'm concerned from the Green Bay perspective that they try to play hardball here with Jordan Love. Don't do that. I'm just telling you right now, don't mess with these guys. Don't mess with Melgata and this agency because they have everybody. And it's the same agency that represents Rodgers. Now, it's a different guy that represents Rodgers, but it's the same overall agency. Okay. So they've all been in meetings talking about you behind your back, about what was going on with the Aaron deal and how that all played out. So I promise you, he knows the background on you, Goody, and what this is all about, and Russ Ball and Mark Murphy and the likes. So if you decide you're going to play hardball, I'm telling you, I would not be surprised if Jordan Love is not there. Just it's not there. I'll be there, but I'm not playing. I'm not playing in any of these inter-squad scrimmages that you have lined up against Baltimore and Denver. He's not participating in those, and he's not playing in preseason games until this deal is done. Once the deal is done, play as you like. But until then, he's not playing. That's how I would go about it. If I was his agency, I'm just telling you right now, we could take our time and you can drag your feet as far as not wanting to give us what we think what we deserve. That's fine. Because from their perspective, I'm sure they're asking for 56 to 60 million. And I'm sure from the Packers' perspective, they're trying to keep it around 50 or less. And that's the argument. Well, from Jordan Love's agency's perspective, it's like, that's cool. We'll wait because Tua's going to get paid. And you think Jared Goff got money, you wait to see what Tua gets. And then Dak's going to get paid. So we can wait on that too. And then once we have all of that lined out, then we'll go back and we'll talk. And you're going to realize we were right and the number is right. And you're going to have to pay us what we want. They're not in a position to not play Jordan Love this year. They're just not. They would look stupid, foolish, whatever you want to say. Rodgers, with his whole deal, they look bad to a certain perspective, even though Rodgers wasn't helping the situation. In this situation here, Jordan Love has no negativity surrounding him at all in any aspect of how he's portrayed himself through this whole process with Rodgers starting, him coming off the bench. The only people that will look bad in this deal will be the Green Bay Packers if Love ends up not coming and playing in preseason or, God forbid, the regular season because they can't get a contract done right.
Right, exactly. Then I really have to hammer Goot, and all of his followers will have to get mad at me again. But right, I would hope that they're not playing hardball in this situation. I just think what's happening. I'm not too worried about it, just because I think what's happening here is it's just the first contract, it's the first deal for Jordan Love, so they're just trying to get it done the right way, and they want the most money, like you said, because you don't want to turn around the next day and Tua's making more money than you, because I think that Jordan Love's a better quarterback than Tua. He's got one more playoff win than Tua does. You just saw Jared Goff get paid. You brought up Dak. So yeah, I think that they just want to get this done the right way. And Goot's probably trying to play hardball or Russ Ball, whoever's making these. Well,
it's Russ Ball. There's no question it's Russ Ball. He's definitely a part of it. And then, we kind of see where it goes from there. It's interesting. On Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on yesterday, so Wednesday, I found an NIL agent, which, to be honest, I didn't know they existed. An NIL agent, Miles Jordan, and he represents a kid here in Franklin. He's based out of North Carolina. He's got a bunch of guys, but one of them is here. The kid represents in Franklin. He was in the transfer portal. It was between the Badgers and USC, and he went to USC over Wisconsin. And he made some comments on Twitter about the collective with Wisconsin and so forth. So I reached out. I was like, hey, man, you can come on. He's like, absolutely. So he came on, and I learned a lot. Like, if you missed that interview, go back, listen on the Odyssey app or 1250. He said that in college, the head coach pretty much is dictating who gets what money-wise. I don't want to spend more than this at this position on this player. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then the people, the general manager or whatever you want to call these people, they're the ones that then work with the NIL agents as far as getting the money. And he said part of the reason why you have people suing teams and all this other stuff is because they're not represented by anybody. He's like, I've got a law degree. Like I've done the I've done contract negotiations. I've done all of this. He goes, so I'm qualified and my guys aren't getting screwed. The people that are getting screwed is because mom and dad and the kid are trying to do these things on themselves and are taking, these people's word for what they're going to get. And then when they don't get it, they get all mad, but they have nothing actually written down or taken care of or anything like that. When we talk about this situation here with the Packers, is Goody telling Russ Ball, hey, man, I don't want to go over X with Jordan Love? Or is Russ Ball telling Goody, hey, man, with the way this looks for salary cap wise and how this is going to project out, we can go to that number. But if we go past that number, you're going to be really kind of screwed as far as what you can do around him going forward. Like, who really is pushing the number on the other one as far as what they want to do here, Ryan?
I'd say probably it's a collective joint thing that's going on in that room. I don't know how much Mark Murphy has to do with this kind of thing, but it's definitely Russ Ball and Brian Gutekunst. Yeah. I mean, I think what's happening here, if you're paying attention, the last couple months, really since the offseason, and you're listening to all these guys and you're listening to not only the Goot press conferences, but okay, so for example, even like Jordan Love on one of the podcasts, I can't remember which one, wish I could, but he was like, hey, I think it was the one with all the former players. And he was like, I'm trying to think of how he worded it. I'm not going to quote him directly, but he was like, management thinks that like we could win the Super Bowl this year. We're ready to win right now. We're ready to, we're going to go all in for this season. And we kind of saw that this offseason because he spent money at the safety position. And
running back.
I think, right. And then, you made the Josh Jacobs deal and you let go of Aaron Jones. So I think they're going all in for this season and next season. And so I think that's probably the discussions that are being had here.
You can go all in for this year and next year, Ryan. Fine, you play for their $13 million this year. Next year, it's 25. But then it just gets bigger as you go. And the reason it gets bigger as you go is simple: the TV contract and the streaming and the gambling money. It's just going to continue to increase the cap. So we'll push that money down the line.
Yeah, I know, but they don't want to do that, right? Because Green Bay is actually smart. Let's be honest. Like, I can't stand Goot and the decisions that he makes because he gets rid of your favorite players, but he's smart. And the Packers they have to be smart with money. They can't make these dumb decisions. They can't do what like the Rams did a couple of years ago when they went all in with Ramsey, when they already had Aaron Donald, and go out and get Matthew Stafford and get OBJ. I mean, they tried to get OBJ and they couldn't even do that. But the thing is, I'm saying, like, can they get the deal done with Jordan Love and get him whatever he wants? Hell yes. But they're a little cheap, let's be honest. And they're probably trying to sell Jordan Love and his camp on, hey, you want to win some Super Bowls the next couple of years? Do the team-friendly thing. Look at history. Tom Brady did the team-friendly thing. How many rings does he have?
Right.
And Jordan Love's camp, and Jordan Love himself probably doesn't have a whole lot to do with this because he's probably just like, I want to play football. I want to win Super Bowl rings. I want to win conference championships. I want to beat the Bears. But yeah, I want to make my money. But at the end of the day, what's the difference between 50 and 55 mil? But his management team, his agency, and especially his agents, look at the offseason they've had this year and last year. They post, we ain't taking crap from anybody, and we're getting this deal, we're getting that deal. So who the hell are they if they get Jordan Love this deal and Tua comes back in a week and gets this deal and Dak gets this deal?
Exactly.
And Jordan Love has these numbers compared to their numbers, and the Packers win these games and they go back down to the bottom, because I think the Eagles win that division, and I think the Cowboys take a step back, and I think the Jets win that division, and I don't think the Dolphins can win a cold weather game or beat a playoff team.
I think the same agency, Ryan.
Now, you know what I mean? I think Jordan Love's camp is like, we want it all. We want it all. And the Packers are like, pump the brakes. And that's where we're going here. And ultimately,
I could be wrong, Ryan.
Legend.
I could be wrong, but I think the same agency has all three of these dudes. I think they've got Love, Tua, and Dak. I think they got all of them.
I thought, God, I'm losing my mind. This is what happens when you do a show until midnight and you wake up at 6. I thought you meant they represent Goot, Russ Ball, and Jordan.
No, I think they represent. I think I could be wrong. But I think I heard that they represent all three of the guys that are left. I think so. Could be wrong. But can we just expand on this NFL deal and money wise for a second? I don't know if you saw this. You know who Keith Smith is, right? You have him on your show all the time with Spot Track, the contract website. And he's a big Celtics fan.
Boston Celtics, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So check this out. Some fun numbers. The NBA is getting $7 billion per year for media rights. Getting $7 billion per year for media rights will likely lock in 10% cap growth per season starting in the 25-26 season. Now, again, this is the NBA. This is not the NFL, which is king over the NBA. We agree on this, right? Yes, the NFL is bigger. So a $7 billion per year media rights deal for the NBA, 10% cap growth. That's the max the cap can go up per the CBA per season starting in 25-26. Listen to these numbers. If that's the case, the cap will top $200 million in the 28-29 season. A 35% max salary, like a Giannis, that year in 28-29 projects to be $72 million a year. The fifth year salary on that max deal will be $95 million per year. In that fifth year, it will be $95 million. Total value of that max deal starting in the 28-29 season will be 5 years, $419 million for an NBA player.
Yeah.
We're going to argue over giving Jordan Love $56 million when you know darn right well the NFL is going to have a bigger media rights deal than the NBA is before this is all said and done. And we're arguing over $55 or $56 million. Look at these NBA numbers and tell me, if I was the backers, I'd be like, we've talked about this before. Man, you could have a 10-year deal at $55 million a year. I don't care. Done. Because by the time you get to 28, 29, 20, 30, these numbers are going to be through the roof more than that. Right? I mean, doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, it does, man. And NFL players, see, this is what I always argue, though. NFL players deserve the guaranteed money. I mean,
yes,
the NFL's king. You look at these TV contracts, you look at these streaming contracts and streaming deals now, and these dudes are risking, like, they're taking years off their life. And they only have how many years in a career? So I'm with you. Hey, really quick, this is why Jordan Love isn't taking less. Listen to his agent. I mean, and like their company is Athletes First.
Yep.
Listen to some of these deals though. So he's got Jalen Ramsey, Deshaun Watson, who, wow, Budda Baker, Michael Thomas, AJ Terrell, Kyle Pitts, Jordan Love. I mean, this is what's going on. Calvin Ridley, who just got the bag. There's absolutely no chance Jordan Love isn't getting.
No, but that's what I say. The Packers can be like, tell you what, man, you want $56 million, no problem, but we want 6 years. Like, we'll give you $56 million per year, but we want it to be longer than 3 years or 4 years. And then we want 5 or 6 years if you want $56 million right off the bat based on what you want to do. That's how I'd play Vows Green Bay. Then I want it to be a longer term deal at $56 million before you have to hit me back up again in 3 years and say, now I want $70 million or $75 million. That's how they got to play. All right, take a quick time. I'll come back on the other side. I want to talk about Keyshawn Nixon's comments at OTAs and what to take away from those. Those had me pumped up. That's next here. Kurt and Long on your Odyssey app, wherever you download your favorite podcast at. Also, check us out live streaming as always on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page. Hey, it's Sparky, Fifer, 1250 a.m. The Fan, host of Wisconsin Sports Daily, weekday afternoons from 2 to 5 on 1250 a.m. The Fan, and on your Odyssey app. You can stream us there. Follow me on Twitter at Sparky Radio. He's Ryan Horvat, co-host of BetMGM Tonight with Nick Kashu and Trista Crick. Weeknights, they give you some in-game betting advice. They give you some West Coast game betting advice. They tell you what to do with your future bets. They're there just to make you money. That's all they are. They really are servants of the people. Follow them on Twitter at Ryan Horvat. Let's talk about Keyshawn Nixon, who had some comments at OTAs on Tuesday when the media was allowed in. And they were talking about the fact that team attendance is up. 90 of 91 players on the roster were present at Tuesday's OTAs. Keyshawn Nixon was asked, why do you think that is? Quote, I feel like we let a team off the hook last year in the playoffs, and we know that. Referring to the Packers' 24-21 loss to the Niners. Quote, everybody on this team is on a mission. We're ready to win a Super Bowl. We're all here locked in, and it showed we ain't nothing to play with. End quote, Keyshawn Nixon. Now, I don't know about you, but as a Packer fan, I'm jacked. Like, that's what I want to hear. I mean, nobody saw this coming. Prior to last year, if I would have told you, Horvat, that this offseason they would be talking about winning a Super Bowl with Jordan Love and all these young players, you would have laughed hysterically and said, yeah, right. You better hope they just at least go 500 at that point. But realistically, they legitimately have a chance to be in that conversation. And I don't want to make you mad. It's Thursday, Memorial Day weekend. I don't want to hack you off. I really don't. But I think there's something to what I'm about to say. When the best player or the leader is present for these volunteer things, others will randomly show up as well because the guy is there.
Yeah,
when the best player or the leader doesn't feel like it's important for him to come, then the other guys who feel that they are just as good or as important or making a ton of money decide, well, if he ain't going, I'm certainly not going. I'll stay home too, and I'm not going either. And that's what happened at the end of the Rodgers era. In fairness, Jordan Love isn't making the money yet. His receivers aren't making the money yet. His running back is. He's there. But for the most part, nobody's really making a ton of money on this team outside of Kenny Clark is making some good money, and Josh Jacobs is making all right, and then McKinney, but they're not making Rodgers money. So, or Devontae money. So from that perspective, you're not there yet. Now, in 2-3 years, when Jordan Love's making $50, $60 million a year, will he still be coming to OTAs? Don't know. But I think when the quarterback's there, I think that rallies everybody else to be there too, Ryan.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I agree. Rodgers always used to show up, and then towards the end of his career, like he had other things going on, and like you said, he's rich. Tom Brady, the same thing. I have more respect. Like, if you're a football player, if you're in that locker room, if you're the quarterback, anything that's going on, you should be there, in my opinion. I don't care how much money you're making. Like, if you want to win, is like if you're Deshaun Watson, or if you're like Johnny Manziel, I don't expect you to show up at the OTAs and stuff that you don't have to show up to, right? But if you're Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love,
Mahomes.
Guys that want to win, Mahomes, yeah, like that's what I'm saying though. Like that's kind of what we got into. Like why, like we talked about this yesterday during the podcast. Like why I'm buying into Jordan Love is now he's like a dude, man. Like you hear it on these podcasts. Joe Burrow, he's a dude. He's at everything. Mahomes, he shows up. He's just like one of the dudes. He's got a beer belly. He's been partying his ass off this offseason. He's a winner, but he's there. He shows up. I'm with you, man. Like, as the quarterback of the team, you got to be the leader. You're making all the money. You have it the easiest. Like, yeah, you get hit, but like you don't get hit during practice. Quarterbacks have it the easiest. You should be there. You should show up to everything. Now, if you're Tom Brady and you have all the Super Bowl rings, I don't pay as much attention. But if you're Aaron Rodgers, you got a couple good years left in you. We're still sitting with that one Super Bowl ring. And, wide receiver number 1 is now Sammy Watkins and Christian Watson and Devontae Adams is elsewhere. Right. You're all should be in camp working with those dudes. I always agreed with that. I never defended him for that nonsense.
Hey, I don't know if you saw this floating around yesterday on Twitter or not. I saw it. I saved it. I'm going to put this up. Now, if you're listening on audio, you're going to have to go to the Aussie Sports YouTube page and listen and watch the video to understand this. I'm going to show Ryan my phone here on video, and hopefully I can show him well enough to where he can make it out. Okay, Ryan, can you see that right there? What NFL player is that body with?
Yeah, that's Patty Mahomes.
That is crazy, man.
I told you.
That is crazy, man. The dude's got man boobs. I mean, that is crazy. His gut's bigger than Bart's. I mean, it's nuts, Ryan. Come on, man.
This is a true story, right? And this is
bigger than my gut too. Thank you very much. Yes.
This is a real. I'm in way better shape than Mahomes. I'm not gonna lie.
You're in better shape than me and Bart both. Yes, we know that.
Oh God, yes. But. So this is a true story. This is a good one. So I had a buddy, and this is reliable because he sent me a picture. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna like post a picture and post Mahomes. But my buddy was at an NBA playoff game a couple weeks ago, about a week ago only, and he had really good seats. And he's like, "You're never gonna guess who's sitting in front of me, Pat Mahomes." And I'm like, "No way. Are you gonna say what's up?" And he's like, "I did." He's like, "I said, what's up, Mahomes?" And he like waved back and he said he seems cool as hell. And he took a picture and he said, "Mahomes, it's not even the end of the first half." And he goes, "Mahomes has already finished 6 beers. He's going for number 7. And I was joking around and I said, "How many pee breaks? Over or under 1.5?" And he said, "Not one the entire time." So then we talked after and he said Mahomes drank over 14 beers at this game that he witnessed and only got up one time. Did not break the seal except for one time, and it was at half. He only got up.
I couldn't do that. No chance.
Mahomes is partying. Kelsey's partying. I keep telling all these clowns, it's not a huge bet, but you could get the Chargers right now plus 300 to win that division. It's hard to three-peat.
Don't do it to yourself.
What if Harbaugh has those guys ready this year?
What? Well, who does he have them ready with? Who's playing wide receiver? Who's at running back? No way. Get out of here. Stop this nonsense. Stop.
Hold on. Everybody
it was Kellen.
Everybody keeps talking about this wide receiver nonsense. Lad McCall. Dude, so here's the thing. It doesn't matter because when Jim Harbaugh went to San Francisco, he took Alex Smith to an NFC championship game. Year 2, pulled the plug on that. Brought in Colin Kaepernick, completely changed the offense, ran the read option stuff, went to a Super Bowl that he should have won against his brother, but the lights went out.
Exactly.
And who did he do it with? Wide receiver number 1 was Michael Crabtree. He doesn't need receivers. We ground and pound, baby. We ground and pound. Woo!
Sometimes I worry about you. The Bears bandwagon you refuse to get off of. Now this is going on 3 years.
I like
The Chargers bandwagon. First it was, Kellen Moore. Hey, you'll see Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore sucks, like I told you he did.
He didn't suck.
He sucks.
No, Brandon Staley sucked.
Kellen Moore is horrible. Either way. So Kellen Moore was obviously part of the issue there. So then they blow up the wide receiving core. You're talking about ground and pound. Justin Herbert ain't running no option or nothing like that. And who are you grounding and pounding with?
He did it in Oregon.
Running back. Who's the running back?
He did it in Oregon.
Who's the running back?
What do you mean who's the running back? They got every single running back that was on the Ravens last year. J.K. Dobbins.
Yes. Who the Ravens got rid of for a reason. Exactly. So
they only got rid of him because he blows out his ACL every other year. When he's on the field, he averages like 6 yards per pop. I'm telling you, Chargers are going to be a playoff team. Weirdly, I think Quentin Johnston's bum ass is actually going to improve year 2. Remember that drop he had at Lambeau and they should have beat us?
Yep.
That's the thing, dude. The Chargers were bad because Staley stunk. He was doing yoga rather than – it's like when McCarthy was getting massages rather than attending special teams meetings. And Staley's there with his Lululemon on. Nobody wanted to play for that doofus. Jim Harbaugh, I'll say this actually. It's either going to end well, right? Right away, they're going to win 10 games, or it's going to be a disaster, like an Urban Meyer disaster. Did you see he already cut off music? I don't know that you could do that in the year 2024. No music at practices. It's either going to work and this team's winning 12 games, or like everybody quits on him week 6 and he's back to iron his khakis
I'm sorry. It's going to be a couple of years before he can redo the roster and get it the way he wants. I don't think he wants Herbert. He wants a cheaper quarterback and then spend money elsewhere. But he's stuck with Herbert for, I think, 2 more years before the dead cap number drops to where he might be able to move on from Justin Herbert. So we'll see what happens. Take a quick time. I'll come back. Other side, we'll wrap this thing up. But I want to get Ryan's thoughts on the Mina Kimes show, that podcast that she did, talking about Matt LaFleur, where she thinks Matt LaFleur has a chance to be ranked in the coaching rankings coming up. That's next. The Kurt and Long podcast on your Odyssey app, or if you download your favorite podcast app, and streaming live on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page. Hey, it's Sparky Fifer, 1250 AM The Fan. Follow me on Twitter at Sparky Radio. Follow Ryan Horvat at Ryan Horvat. I, of course, do Wisconsin Sports Daily weekday afternoons, 2 to 5 on The Fan in Milwaukee. He, of course, does BetMGM tonight, weeknights on the BetQL Radio Network and streaming on your Odyssey app. Ryan Horvat, Mina Kimes on her Mina Kimes show, had Kevin Clark on, who used to be with The Ringer and so forth. And they went back and forth on whether or not they think Matt LaFleur could possibly be a top 5 head coach in the NFL right now. Top 5. Then some clown show named Alex Ricklein, who's a fantasy sports writer for RotoWire, DraftKings, Yahoo Fantasy, CBS, and more. So a lot of people apparently have this dude. He's a professor at Farmingham State. Never heard of it. Somewhere in Massachusetts.
Isn't that where Jesus Shuttlesworth went and he got game?
Maybe. Could be. I don't know. He's from Boston, so maybe that explains some of it. So this is what he quote tweets the video from Mina Kimes and says, LaFleur's the coach I have the least conviction on in the entire league. I'm not at all convinced he's good, let alone great. I think there's a real chance he's terrible, but I just don't feel like we know yet, even though he's now the 7th longest tenured coach. How is he terrible? How in the freaking world can you make a chance that he's terrible at this point? The man literally had Jordan Love behind Aaron Rodgers. The man won 13 games consecutive years, or 3 years in a row, whatever it was, with Aaron Rodgers. McCarthy could never do that with Rodgers. Had every opportunity to get to Super Bowl, didn't. So fine, blame him if you want. Don't blame anybody else. Cool, no problem. But Jordan Love, what he did last year with that offense, with all those young dudes, and you think he's terrible? Or there's a chance he's terrible? No chance. You could take all these coaches around the NFL, give them Jordan Love, give them those wide receivers and everything else, and you tell me how many of those cats go to the playoffs and go in and win in Dallas. No chance. Zero chance that he's a terrible head coach. Zero.
Right. Like, you could say, I'm not saying this, I think Matt LaFleur is a great coach. I don't know if I could go top 5 yet. Maybe I'd have to think really hard. Obviously, you have Andy Reid. I got to give Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season, and look what he's working with, man. Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph, and just that Kenny Pickett. But Matt LaFleur's 56-27. Maybe you could say, oh, he's overrated because he had Aaron Rodgers those first, 4 seasons. Because, man, I mean, his first 4 seasons, he trailed what? Only George Seifert? They were 47-19. I mean, like, that's the second most wins in NFL history by a head coach in NFL history. Only George Seifert had more than Matt LaFleur. And you could say, sure, he had Aaron Rodgers, but the Packers weren't even a playoff team that last year with McCarthy. And he took over, and the next year they won 13 games, and it was a down year for Rodgers. Brought in a new offense. So maybe you want to say overrated. I'm fine with that. We could argue all day. I think he's a great coach.
The discussion that led into this was top 5, okay? So who's in your top 5 as head coach? Forget that idiot Alex Rickling. Top 5 head coaches in the NFL, in the National Football League. So okay. Andy Reid's in that conversation. Clearly he's one, right?
Okay, I got my list already.
You have your list already? All right, go ahead.
Are we including Bill Belichick because he's going to eventually be back, or no? He's out right now, right?
No, he's out.
All right. Andy Reid is definitely number 1. He's 129-52, including the postseason in his career, and he's an offensive genius. I'm going to go Mike Tomlin, number 2. I mean, since 2007, the Steelers have never finished last in their division. They've only finished 3rd, I believe, 3 times, and that's a tough-ass division. And they've never finished a season, as we know, with a sub-500 record. I'm going to go Kyle Shanahan, even though he's never won a Super Bowl. The only reason he's never won a Super Bowl, I mean, one year he was the OC. And the only reason he's never won a Super Bowl is because he had to play Pat Mahomes twice.
The year he was the OC, they blew a 28-3 lead at halftime.
Yeah, he wasn't the head coach. Like the Super Bowls that he's lost, like this year, you can't fault him.
Their offense didn't do anything in the second half of that game. Do we remember this football game against the Patriots?
Matt Ryan winning an MVP? I mean, he was the quarterback of your team a couple years ago. Did anybody else win an MVP with Matt?
I'm just saying.
Kyle Shanahan on my list. John Harbaugh on my list.
Agreed.
Sean McVay on my list. Yeah, and then it's Matt LaFleur. So I got him right outside my top 5. I have to put McVay over him. McVay won a Super Bowl. And also, how am I going to put LaFleur over Shanny when Shanny steals his lunch and kicks the crap out of him in any big game?
No, I'm not saying to put LaFleur over Shanahan. I'm just arguing about Shanahan in general. Because
I'm saying he's the top. Yeah, because a lot of the good guys are gone.
Your first point of he's never closed is the reason why I have an issue of everybody putting him where they put him. But with McVay, and I love Sean McVay, you can ask Gary and Leroy. When Sean McVay got hired by the Rams, I said, you watch, they're going to go win a Super Bowl. And they're like, dude, shut up. You don't even know this dude. What are you talking about? I'm telling you, I've read enough. This dude's going to win a Super Bowl based on everything I've been reading about all these different relationships and how he treats people and all this. I'm telling you, watch, he's going to do something. And he had NFL bloodlines with his grandpa or whatever with the Niners. So that makes sense. But when he won that, they had a star-studded team. Especially on the defensive side of the ball, they were paying a ton of money for all those guys. Remember, they're trading draft picks and everything else. Not that you should take that away from them, but either way. So that was part of it. He had a lot of talent at that point in order to do it. Now, what he did last year with that offense, very impressive. No question. That's not even arguable what he did last year. That offense was very good. Let's just say this. I think if LaFleur wins a Super Bowl, I don't want to hear Kyle Shanahan in front of Matt LaFleur again. That's the end of it. If they go win a Super Bowl this year, in my opinion, LaFleur is in the top 5. Case closed. It's over. If they win a Super Bowl. If they don't win a Super Bowl, I think he's just on the outside looking in. I don't think he's in that conversation as of this point. Now, another part of this is you have a lot of guys that just got jobs because turnover rate is so high in the National Football League. These guys are lasting, 3 years, Ryan? They're getting fired and being moved on. Guys like Tomlin and Andy Reid, that's just something that does not happen in the National Football League. Yeah. Hell, McCarthy being in Green Bay for 10 years or whatever, that was unheard of as well. These guys just don't stay around very long.
Exactly. You have to put Shanahan over McVay and LaFleur because there is no McVay LaFleur without Shanahan, though. You know what I mean? And he
yes.
And I don't judge off Super Bowl rings because he's been there. And again, like Mahomes had the ball last in overtime. Like it's hard to judge off rings in the NFL. I've always said this about Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre too, because like because of these dynasties. Like the Cowboys in the 90s owned the 90s because they had the best team. Favre was a way better quarterback than Aikman. Unfortunately, we couldn't have a one-on-one contest between the two of them, or we would have had more Super Bowl rings. Rodgers, in my opinion, way more talented than Brady.
Agreed.
Brady had a top 10 scoring defense, not Ladarius Gunter trying to cover guys in big games. And he had Bill Belichick, not Mike McCarthy. Insert joke there.
This is my thing.
It's hard to judge Shanny because he's going against Andy Reid. Like, that's why Andy Reid has to be number one. Andy Reid and Mahomes own the NFL. Belichick and Brady own the NFL. You know, it's like the NBA. Bron owned the NBA. Kobe and Shaq own the NBA. Jordan owned the NBA. That's why some of these dudes don't have rings. They're not on the best team. They're awesome players. They're just not on the best team.
This is the problem I have with what you just said. First of all, Belichick and Brady are cheaters. So I don't even if you put that aside, your reasoning for Shanahan was, well, look at McVay and LaFleur and these guys, they all came from him. Well, fine. Well, Charlie Weiss came from Belichick. That didn't work out. I mean, look at his guys that came from him. None of them worked. None of them worked. Josh McDaniels, all these clowns that were on Belichick's staff, when they had the head coaching opportunities, none of them worked. So if we're going to give Shanahan credit because his guys work, then doesn't Belichick get dinged for his guys never working as head coaches when they were given the opportunity?
Okay. Yeah, fair. That is fair, man, because Bill is a control freak. There'll never be, really quick, there'll never be another Bill Belichick, just like there'll never be another Nick Saban, because now, you know, like Ben Johnson will get a job and he's an offensive-minded head coach. Dan Quinn will get a job and he's a defensive-minded head coach. So you bring in Cliff Kingsbury to run the offense, and he just focuses on the defense. You know, these offensive guys, they get a guy like Robert Saleh to run the defense, or DeMeco Ryans. So, yeah, Bill surrounds himself with a bunch of idiotic, buffoon yes men, right? Doofuses, former players mostly, meatheads, because he knows he could control them. And then these guys go out on their own and they're no good. I think that's another thing why we have to maybe put Shanny even above, and maybe then you can't knock him. Other than choking away the 28-3 game, because look at his coaching tree. Matt LaFleur, winner. McVay, winner. DeMeco Ryans, year one with the Texans, winner. Let's see what Raheem does this year. Oh, like that's McVay's dude, but let's see what like the other guys, LaFleur's coaching tree looks like, because Shanny's coaching tree is awesome. And also, we can't just give him all the praise, though. A lot of it has to go to his dad, Mike Shanahan, who was innovative and great.
Yeah.
And, I hated him in the 90s because of what he did to us. But like Kyle learned everything from his dad. Like if I go on to be a coach, can't just say it came from me. I followed my grandpa around and he won a bunch of games. If you go, you learn everything from, you know, that's what I'm saying though. So
LaFleur's coaching
family coaching tree too.
Yeah. The first branch to fall off of LaFleur's tree started on fire. And it didn't work out so well, if we remember Hackett. So that one didn't work out so well. So
that's Rodgers' fault.
Yeah, well, whatever. I'm just saying it didn't work out so well that first time in Denver. That was a disaster. So we'll see what happens. He is Ryan Horvat. Follow him on Twitter at Ryan Horvat. BetMGM tonight. Check those guys out. BetQL Radio Network at night, as well as checking them out on the Odyssey app, which you should have downloaded, obviously. Follow me at Sparky Radio on Twitter. Wisconsin Sports Daily, weekday afternoons from 2 to 5. Served up by Wendy's. And Jim Ozarski in studio for an hour today, Bucks beat writer. From 3 to 4 p.m. here on Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. Toodles.